What a bright and colorful Friday it is. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. Yes, indeed, it's the Friday to distress, as I always say. It's good to be here. I am Bukola Koka, and you know that I never do this alone. Hello, Jeffrey and Kaidi. How are you guys doing?
We're doing quite well. It's a weekend edition. Of course, we're super excited about it. It's getting to the weekend, so we know that we have, okay, not Bukola. We have a few more days to just relax a bit before we get pumped up again for another week. But
yes,
we also try to review what has been happening in the course of the week. A lot happened, and that's what we'll be talking about today on the show. Welcome. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
Well, Friday is here. We're excited, absolutely. And you just reminded me, you're wearing red, and you said I'm not alone. Reminds me of a football club. Red, not alone.
You will never walk alone.
Red Devils.
Hey, Bukola, you should have just kept quiet. You should have just.
Well, you guys are making me gradually into a football enthusiast.
Liverpool,
so
not Red Devils,
not
Liverpool.
Well, at least there's red in here.
There's red.
Bukola,
Looks like...
I'm proud of you. You're getting better every day.
Every day, right?
I like that.
Looks like God is going to be watching a lot of football this weekend. Well, you know, guys, you know what they say. There's a quote. I love quotes, by the way. There's a quote credited to Oprah Winfrey, and she says, the greatest discovery of all time is that a man can change his future by merely changing his attitude. And we're going through a lot of changes as a nation at the moment. And, you know, it seems like everyone is asking, when are we going to turn a corner? So when will things get better for Nigerians? And speaking of changes, you were at the media chat, the inaugural media chat yesterday, and there were quite a number of measures that the governor released. And perhaps you could, you know, share some insight with us from what you gleaned from that media chat, particularly with regards to change.
Well, he said a lot of things. That's talking about Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu yesterday on his Sanwo-Olu Speak. So, because one of the things he was trying to achieve yesterday was to explain to Lagosians exactly what he's doing in response to the economic challenges, as well as what the future of Lagos will look like. So all kinds of measures, I may not be able to go in detail, but it cuts across things like social welfare, more like in the health sector, in the transportation sector, literally giving palliatives in terms of food. I know the one that got a lot of traction was the Mama Puts, feeding 1,000 people in different local government areas for every day, 1,000 people. Using the Mama Puts you're used to, the local vendors. Those are what we call Mama Puts in Nigeria, local vendors, food vendors at corners. So they work with the Lagos State Register and all of that to ensure that for people that need food, that immediate intervention, 1,000 of them, I don't know how much that will move the needle, but that is his own effort in terms of food to ensure that if you're in a local government, these people are feeding you at least 1,000 people a day for a period of time. So there are also interventions for healthcare. I think he talked about, if I remember, women who are giving birth in the 31 or so general hospitals, they will give birth free because the woman gave birth at the bus stop. Transportation costs will be cut down by 25% for government-run transportation system. So these are some of the things I can actually remember I talked about. So he gave a couple of measures, and of course we asked questions on how these measures will be. Including issues around housing, issues around internal roads, the flooding. So there were a potpourri of issues that was dealt with. But the challenge is always, plans are never, we always have plans, great plans as a people, as a government in Nigeria or the states, but the challenge is always implementation. So let's see how that will be implemented.
We're going to close our eyes.
We're going to keep close eyes. We're going to watch closely how all of these big measures will be implemented and see how it trickles down vertically across board to everyone in terms of economic strata.
Yeah, you know, Jeffrey, implementation is the operative word there, and that's what we should look out for. Which ministry will be in charge? How effective will the ministry officials be? We hope that, you know, this will not be cornered. We hope that it will go round all the local government areas in Lagos and indeed the LCDs. But what's exciting is, you know, that projection about, you know, feeding 1,000 Lagosians in all the local government areas every day. We don't know for how long, but that is sure to have
for a period of time.
A ricochet effect on the, you know, the local economy of those local government areas. The number of people will be employed, however minimal what they'll be getting will be. There'll be purchase of food. The caterers will be empowered. You know, but then implementation is a key word.
And another thing is whether or not the people trust the government. And while we're talking about Lagos, it's important to say that there are 35 other states.
Yeah, exactly. So we're just chatting through yesterday.
Yes, we can pick holes in what Lagos state government said or did not say. That's governance, that's democracy. You need to engage. So say, 3 days, government officials will go to work for 3 days now?
No, so I think level 1 to level 14 or so, 3 days, and then from 15 to go for 4 days.
4 days, so public servants.
Basically, he calls it building redundancy. Just slow down the system for a bit, reduce the mobility. Let's take a deep breath.
Which makes sense, really. So, I mean, that's cheering for a lot of people. I know a lot of private employees, I say, please now, let the breeze get to our side. I mean, that's a different conversation entirely. But yes, it's important to state that this should go round across all the states of the Federation. So what do you think about Governor Sanwo-Olu's measures? A lot of people saying this is to get ahead of all of the agitations that we're seeing across board. Makes sense, right? But what do you make of it? Let us know what you think. This is the morning brief.
That's exactly.
We should be asking Governor Sanwo-Olu by proxy as well that despite that, change in the civil service, will there be increase in salary?
He didn't mention
Will the government be committing to government's wage of 200,000 naira because 30,000 naira doesn't cut it anymore?
Well, without trying to speak for any governor, I think what the governors are waiting for is what the federal government will do in terms of increase in wage. Then that would be like a cue for them. So even if I'd asked or anyone had asked that question, he may look for a way to answer it, diplomatically and all of that. And by the way, he said, I want to come on your show. Governor Sanwo-Olu, I'm reminding you again, you told me you want to come on the show. So make it happen. We're expecting you on the morning brief, by the way.
Indeed, there'll be so many questions for the governor to answer to, particularly, from our esteemed viewers. There's so much to look forward to besides what you've already heard. Speaking of which, the politics of the Edo governorship election scheduled for September 2024 is gradually taking shape as candidates emerge in primaries conducted in the state capital, albeit with some drama. Lawyer and entrepreneur Asue Ighodalo was declared winner of the PDP governorship primaries, while the state deputy governor Philip Shaibu emerged winner in a parallel primary. Is this a familiar family pattern in Nigeria's internal party politics? Well, your guess is as good as mine. Still, we'll review the process through the eyes of a pundit who's from home. Edo State, by the way.
Are you calling it a familiar spirit now?
Well, I like that interpretation. But when will we rein in on this spirit?
Big question. Big question. But that's not all we have for you on the show. Really. There's a lot going on when it comes to politics, and you could see a snippet of that. But also the economy is a big one. Just yesterday, the Naira gained slightly, closing at 1,860 Naira to the dollar as liquidity improved in the official market. And as volatility reigns on the black market, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has raided currency dealers, illegal currency dealers, the commission says. Analysts have described this as counterproductive. Add to that the recent clampdown on cryptocurrency apps. So how are all these playing together? We'll continue our discourse on ways of making the Naira gain value and become more productive.
Exactly, but it's not all the serious talk that we'll be doing today. On a lighter note, some of the best cures for stress in the doctor's book for stress is quite, just have a good laugh. And also, very adequate sleep. You can see that bed right there. It's for a reason. But how well are you sleeping these days? I mean, many economic challenges that you have to face as an individual, as a family. If your answer is not positive, then, well, we got you covered on the program today, and maybe a little demonstration on how you can sleep better. Sleep is a big cure for a lot of stress, especially Lagosians. I'm sure this will be of interest to you because I don't know whether we sleep well in this Lagos.
Well,
I do not know.
You didn't catch that. The free of charge demonstration is
coming from you. Oh, free of charge. Yeah.
You promised to give us FOC demonstration.
I love sleep. Let me say that again. I love to sleep. When I have the time, I sleep. I don't play with it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you're so unrepentant. I'd love to see Jeffrey.
I like the way he says it unabashedly.
Absolutely.
He loves sleep.
I'd love to see you simulate that.
No,
show,
because as you grow older, you learn a lot more. When you're younger, there are certain things you could do and walk away with. You know, when you're younger, they say motivational speakers will say, sorry, I'm not coming against motivational speakers for the record. So if you sleep up to 5 hours, I will say, you waste 40 years of your 80 years, and you know all those stuff. Come on. There's a reason why God created sleep. Give yourself some time to sleep so that you can re-engineer your system to function better, which is why I'm very unapologetic about it. When it's time to sleep, I sleep. My wife knows that sleep is almost as sacred as I don't want to go too far.
Well, we understand, Jeffrey. And I always say Fridays are the days to rest, distress, and reset ahead of the coming week. So we're going to be giving you all of the tips that will help you rest. Right after now, we'll be bringing you the top stories on the morning brief. There's a lot to unpack. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and time now for your top stories on the morning brief. All routes led to Edo State on Thursday as the race for the September 21st governorship election gains momentum, with various parties wrapping up their primaries. The ruling People's Democratic Party in the state appears to have resolved the issue of who is to fly its flag, as lawyer and entrepreneur Asue Godalo has emerged winner in the party's governorship primary election. He polled 577 votes to defeat 7 other contestants in the primary conducted at the tennis court of the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium in Benin City, the state capital.
I will work tirelessly for our state. I will assemble a group of young men, women, older, middle-aged, the best hands possible to move our state to the next level. And I promise you all that I will give you my all.
However, supporters of the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, who claimed to be delegates, alleged being reportedly prevented from taking part in the accreditation process for the primary election at the main venue. They were said to have subsequently taken their protest to the Deputy Governor's residence, where they declared him winner in a parallel election.
I fought the good fight for you, my people. Along the way, suffered humiliation, enjoyed many moments of victory, but I am thankful in all things. I have been bruised, but not crushed. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Badly hurt, but not destroyed. I resonate with the tireless, irresponsible spirit of the Edo people. By the grace of God, nothing and no one can stop us. After all, I be original Edo son. Wow, 100% homeboy. This is why today I stand before you with great conviction and resolve, as I declare my intention to run for the office of the Governor of Edo State.
An old actuality of the Deputy Governor when he declared his ambition. In the meantime, the outcome of the All Progressives Congress primary is still being expected as the party completes its primary after the outcome of the previous poll last Saturday, where 3 contestants came out as winners. There's a heavy presence of security operatives on the streets leading to the hotel where the collation center is situated. And within the hotel premises itself, Chairman of the revised APC Edo Governorship Election Committee, Governor Basiotu of Cross River State, says there is nothing like zoning in the poll, in line with the party's leadership stance, maintaining also that he is the one to announce the result. Also, the APC leadership has denied sacking Governor Hope Uzodimma of Imo State as the chairman of the Edo State Governorship Primary Election Committee. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Felix Morka, explained that Governor Uzodimma only stepped aside from concluding the primary election due to a scheduled engagement at the National Executive Council.
The attention of the All Progressives Congress has been drawn to reports in sections of the media suggesting that Governor of Imo State and Chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum, His Excellency Hope Uzodimma, was sacked or dropped as the chairman of the Edo State Gubernatorial Primary Election Committee and replaced with His Excellency the Governor of Cross River State, Basi Otu. We wish to clarify that Governor Uzodimma was neither sacked nor dropped, as has been erroneously reported, but was unavoidably unavailable to lead the completion of the party's Edo State gubernatorial primary election process due to his prior scheduled attendance of and presentation of a report to the National Economic Council meeting today, February 22nd, 2024. As a result, His Excellency Basi Otu, Governor of Cross River State, who was the deputy chairman of the committee, graciously accepted to serve as the chairman and to complete the Edo State gubernatorial primary election process.
And just before we leave Edo State, and ahead of the September 21 governorship election still, the Zenith Labour Party, ZLP, has presented Bishop Akalame as its candidate. The primaries held at the Uselu axis of the Benin-Lagos Expressway under a peaceful atmosphere. The flag bearer says his party made a good choice by fielding him as its candidate.
Today, I don't just have the support of the people, I have the support of the party. And they have given me the mandate, given me the opportunity to fly the flag of the party to contest the Edo 2024 governorship election. I am so happy. Now, from April, the work will start. I will begin to see how we can work to ensure that we rescue Edo State from the gobweb of stagnation, from the economic comatose we have found ourselves today. I am so happy. Edo will begin to experience good governance when I take over the matter of leadership for governing Obaseki.
Well, we'll see how that plays out. Away from Edo now, a chaotic scene was reported at the Kaduna-Abuja highway on Thursday morning as protesters blocked the highway leading into the Federal Capital Territory. According to eyewitnesses, the protesters are lamenting the rising food prices in the country. It was gathered that the protest turned violent as suspected hoodlums hijacked trailers loaded with food items at the Suleja junction on the Abuja-Kaduna highway in Niger State. According to the report, the truck was conveying food items meant for traders at the popular Madala market within the area, which opens on Thursdays. However, soldiers from the Guards Brigade dispersed the suspected hoodlums, while other security operatives restored normalcy to the area, allowing free flow of vehicles. And what seems to be a similar incident in Borno State, some internally displaced persons living in Dikwa local government area say if no action is taken about food, they are ready to return to Douala in Cameroon from where they were before they moved to Borno. According to them, they got enough food in Douala and are asking government to take action, saying that many people living there are in a critical condition. And now to security matters. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has warned those he says are advocating a coup due to economic hardship, emphasizing patience and the superiority of democracy. General Musa made this remark while addressing journalists at the Nigeria Army 6th Division headquarters in Port Harcourt, River State, after commissioning some building projects.
We do better during democracy, and so we will continue to support democracy. And any of those ones that are calling for anything other than democracy, I think are evil people and they don't mean us well. And then they should be very, very careful because the laws will come after them. We can see with democracy a lot of things happening in Nigeria. Yes, we're going through trying periods. I mean, in life, nothing is 100%. Everybody goes through trying period, and it is what you do with them. And we can see the government putting in efforts to ensure that we come out better. And it is when you go through difficulties and you come out better, you really appreciate what it is to build a nation. And so that's what we're going through. So we're going through our trying period, but I can assure Nigerians that it will get better. All we need is all of us putting our hands together to ensure that we defeat those enemies of the government.
And as Nigeria grapples with insecurity, kidnapping and other crimes, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State has declared his support for state police, which bill is currently being considered for passage in the National Assembly. Governor Sanwo-Olu stated this among other issues during a media chat at the Lagos House Marina.
The good news is that I've given approval for us to recruit additional 4,000, 4,000 to 5,000 actually. I've given them approval to employ. And this is job for our youth, this is job for our able-bodied men. And so out of that number, we'll give some to CBD, we'll give some to Kai, but a significant chunk of it will be in our neighborhood. And what that means for me is that if they give approval for state police today, I have 10,000 men that I can further train and get them ready, and these are people that know the entire community. They are people that knows, every nook and cranny. In fact, at some of our state security meetings, they give us intel. They give us all of the black spots, all of the things that are happening. They provide those intelligence for us. But it's just that they don't have, the constitutional means to act. But they can give us, what is happening in all communities and regular police nothing. So you can imagine if that is now turned around to be a proper law enforcement, with all of the apparatus of state organ, they will hit the ground running. And we can, on our own, have a plan to double that number, and to take it to a number that will make policing effective and efficient for a big city, of our size. So yes, I'm strongly for it, and I'm waiting for it.
The National Economic Council is urging concerted efforts to ensure that local commodities are not dollarized in the face of the rising cost of food and other commodities. The council, during its meeting held virtually and chaired by Vice President Kashim Shettima, also directed the review of the National Food Security Strategy to, among other things, focus on price stabilization. And as we coast home, a high-rise residential building in the Spanish city of Valencia has been engulfed by fire. And the blaze was said to have occurred at a 14-story block in the Campana neighborhood and spread to an adjoining building. Firefighters have been seen rescuing people from balconies, and local media reports others may be trapped inside. At least 14 people, including 6 firefighters and a young child, have been injured. And Super Falcons and reigning Africa Women's Goalkeeper of the Year, Chiamaka Nnadozie, says the 9-time African champions are well prepared for Friday's Olympic qualifier against the Lionesses of Cameroon in Douala. The Super Falcons are on a revenge mission against the indomitable Lionesses, who stopped their march to the London 2012 Olympics.
Happy to be back again this year with the girls, and yeah, we are in a good spirit and everyone is happy to be here. We are prepared mentally, physically, we are prepared. The season is on in our clubs and we've been playing well, we've been training so hard. While playing there, our minds are here, thinking about the tasks ahead of us. And we did very well during the World Cup, and we don't want to relent on the previous success. This is a new year, new phase. Like you said, this is Africa, different ball game. So we just have to focus. Cameroon is a very good side, and we just have to be careful, and we just have to come out strong and play against them. And hopefully we'll bring the 3 points home.
And that sums it up on stories making the headlines on the morning brief. But what are you saying about some of these big stories? We're going to start reviewing that for you as Jeffrey joins me now. Absolutely. Jeffrey, 10,000 neighborhood watch corps can be absorbed if the bill to consider state police sails through. That gives cause for excitement, doesn't it?
Yeah, Lagos appears to be ahead of the curve, apparently, with this. So he says more people will be recruited. So naturally, we hope and expect that bill to pass. I think a second reading, but the third reading and all of that, because the president is quite willing to sign that bill and ensure that security is decentralized. So what the governor was trying to say is that we're already prepared. So if it's approved, we have some level of training for this gentleman, and what we'll do, upskill that training, and let's see how it plays out from there. And I'm sure that other governors right now who who also have their own community guards and all of that will be thinking in that direction. So, so we should be ready for what has never happened before. I don't think it's ever happened. State policing. Let's see how it plays out. There are people that have complained about the cons, but we feel some people are saying the pros seem to outweigh the cons given the insecurity we're experiencing in the country. Let's see how it plays out. Well, that's all we're saying.
From what the governor says, you know, it seems to hold a lot of promise. So let's see how it plays out. And I wonder, by the way, what happens to the Southwest Security Initiative when or if the bill sails through. Well, but you're saying a lot also about other things. So let's begin that.
I want to jump right to it. Yes, one of the things Governor said yesterday, Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos said, was the issue of empowering Mama Puts, that's the local food vendors in localities and local government to feed 1,000 people. So these were your reactions. John Asikpo says, if the money gets to Mama Put's hand, the money gets to them with no corruption, then those women should definitely feel the impact of this initiative.
Yeah, there you have it. That's John Asikpo's view. Variant Mode is also speaking, and he says simply, the question is, what will be the criteria to select the 1,500 people? Big question, okay? I'm sure the governor has answers to all of that. This Africa Medieval says, I honestly don't see this working because the issue is how do we improve the standard of living, not how to feed people. Let people be more employable and double their paycheck and assure them of better to more and a sense of belonging. So that's from African Medieval. Yeah. African Medieval, we need some optimism here, don't we? CT Hink says, wow, how brilliant. Let's all clap for Sanwo-Olu. Such a brilliant idea that solves the problem of high inflation in the market.
And this is Rotimi Bukun, says, how long Mama Put will save people? Mama Put has his own people's dough. Sir, please let minimum wages be increased, or minimum wage be increased. Let the borders be open for the meantime. I believe the hardship will reduce. I guess that's what I was trying to say. Everybody is feeling this pain. This period is too hard.
Engineer Olainka Aderemi Olani says, going forward from here, clinical monitoring, stern, firm supervisions with faithful men with daily review of logistics are germane. Good concept, Mr. Governor. Bravo. All right, we're trying to race through all of it so we can take as many of your thoughts as possible. MG Official says, this is just the wrongest move. Never happened before. Why don't you invest in major market depots and make food stuff cheaper? This is ludicrous. No better advice. Idea. Okay, that's his own perspective. His own view. Suffice it to add that the governor also says that 42 markets will be open in Lagos, different parts of Lagos, for sale of commodities at low prices.
I think they call it Sunday market.
Sunday market, yes.
So the market will be like off-takers from products around the country because Lagos is not agrarian, it's a commercial city, so service depot.
Yeah.
All right, ban on exporting cooking gas. I guess that's what we're talking about to do. Yes, because of the cost of cooking gas, some measures are being taken into consideration. Engineer Demola says this is the right step in right direction. They should monitor and enforce the price reduction across the country. Also, once the price of gas drops locally, cement price should also drop, and this should be monitored too. Yeah, Ogene Africa says this will be a good approach towards a reduction of this tragic inflation occurring. And Survivor says it is possible that stopping the export of cooking gas by the federal government could reduce the price of cooking gas. However, it is important to note that there are other factors that can affect the price of cooking gas, such as supply and demand, transportation costs, taxes. And Ajibade Ayodeji, we still need to export in order to strengthen our Naira. What I think government should do is to give more people license to do the business. All right, so let's go to what happened in Kaduna with the hemorrhagic fever, the Lassa fever that we recorded casualty. You've also been commenting on that. Johnny Yao says, it is well with the souls of the departed, investigation ASAP. And Dr. Healy says simply OMG. That would be the abbreviation for oh my God. This is serious. Something urgent needs to be done. And this is where we drop the anchor on some of your views, your contributions to the main stories. Keep them coming, hashtag CTV Morning Brief. And don't forget that you can send us your compelling videos as well that we will authenticate and, of course, put up here just to amplify your voices, just because we care. And we're going to start unpacking our bumper harvest for you this morning. Stay with the Morning Brief. We'll be right back. Looks like we're going to the farm. Bumper harvest. Welcome back to the Morning Brief. We'll shift gears now. We want to talk politics, especially the politics of Edo State. Of course, you know, in September, they'll be filing out to decide who leads the state after Godwin Obaseki, who is the incumbent governor. But primaries have been going on this month according to the schedule by INEC to ensure that by the end of today, every party in that state will have a candidate that will be nominated to represent or be a flag bearer for them. Well, some happened yesterday. The People's Democratic Party, Aswe Godalo, emerging from that exercise. But there was a parallel one also taking place, we understand, at the residence of the deputy governor, where he emerged as candidate as well. We've also seen the incident that happened with the APC and the inconclusive declaration by the party, and now reconstitution for a fresh poll. Labour Party is supposed to go out today to decide out of the over 20 or 30 aspirants who becomes the flag bearer of the party, and other parties as well. So about 16 or 18 of them. So that's what we'll be talking about today. We're being joined in the program from our Abuja studio by an election and democracy analyst, Mr. Austin Aigbe. Mr. Aigbe, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much. Good morning, and good morning everyone in the studio.
Mr. Aigbe, I think I would like a review of what you've been witnessing so far, because now the people are not involved. There's the politicians that are involved. And we've seen politicians sadly unable to put their own house in order. For instance, the APC, everything looked organized until they went and did that direct primary. And at the end of the day, simple questions I will always say could not be answered. For instance, who scored the highest number of votes? We do not know. There are different variations. 3 people declaring that they are the candidate. Who should declare the winner in terms of returning officer? It was a contentious issue. Where is the secretary where this collation will take place? It was a contentious issue. And yesterday we saw the PDP did theirs, and now there's a parallel election that took place. Labour Party is out today as well. So just an overview of what you've been observing after this exercise and the ones that are to come.
Yeah, thank you very much. You did a very candid and unbiased analysis of what's happening in the state of Edo. So for the APC, it is clear now that with the declaration by the NEC, by the NWC, that the election was inconclusive, and we are still expecting results from what happened yesterday. As you rightly said, today is the last day for the conduct of primaries. Only Labour Party is scheduled for today. So for APC, we know the process because the party released documents to show the process. And with what you've seen, with the change of names of the electoral officials, it sent a message to the crisis that happened with the declaration of results. If you follow that process in that election, primary election in Edo, it was supposed to be a direct primary. Direct primaries means polling take place at the ward level, move to the local government level, then they move up to the state. So polling take place at the ward, 192 wards. The returning officers of those wards move over to the local government where collations are made. The local government official, the returning officer of local government, collate those results and move over to the state. And at the state, results are presented to a state collation officer. But the APC did something very unique this time. That's why it's becoming like a challenge. The APC had a returning officer, a state returning officer, and also had a chairman of the election committee. Previously, you would expect that the election committee chair is the one that announces results, just like you saw in the PDP. But the role of the state returning officer is to return. I mean, you don't Google what is returning officer. Check INEC election. A returning officer is to make return. For APC, apparently they made, I don't know whether it's a mistake, they may have created that returning officer knowing that there was, before that primaries, a protest against the chair of the electoral committee, which is the governor of Imo State. The party, maybe in his wisdom, didn't want to change the governor. So they brought in a state returning officer for the purpose of collation of results. Maybe after the returning officer would have collated the results, he will hand it over to the chair to make a formal announcement. In this case, they were not in the same venue. So automatically, he cannot hand over materially. It means that if he has to hand over, he will need to depart from where he was doing the collation, which had a banner behind him, and media officials were present. So for the APC, I think they did everything right until the time when the talks invaded the primary coalition venue and disrupted the process. So what we now know is that the process is inconclusive. They've been asked to return back to conclude the election. It is not to start all over again. It is to conclude the process. It was inconclusive and not a cancellation of the electoral process. But for the PDP, I expected what happened in PDP. It was expected, very clear, that before the election, 9 of the gubernatorial aspirants had protested that the manner in which the indirect primary system was being done, because the PDP adopted the indirect primary system, where delegates are elected, and then those delegates come to a national center to formally elect the flag bearer of the party. If you check the result from the PDP, the winner got 577, and the deputy governor, who won in another primary election, which, in my opinion, is not known to law, because the process of election announced by the party was to hold at that venue where the governor of Zamfara did declare the result, because it's public. There's a difference between what happened in APC and what happened in PDP. One is direct primaries and the other is indirect primaries. The deputy governor got 1 vote. In fact, my sister-in-law said, this is wickedness. And I do agree with her. Why would the deputy governor score 1 vote? And apparently he was not even at that venue. I would say that the deputy governor was allocated 1 vote because of the protestation, because they knew there was a parallel primaries ongoing. So let's just give him 1. Look at Aslam Ojezwa, a former chair of the APC that decamped to the governor when the governor had challenge with Adamso Shomole that led him to move to PDP. So Aslam Ojezwa had 0 votes. And if you check all the others, 0, 0, and a few others that withdrawn. But it was clear that Aslam Ojezwa was going to be the flag bearer because the governor did not make any mistake with the choice he made, and he pursued that choice vigorously. And all the 9 all the 9 contending aspirants had written a letter they did not agree with the process. There's going to be court cases, I'm sure, or the parties, as usual, they have a way of settling their matter from behind, and you see them judging after the fact. So, but we expect that election that has happened, the deputy governor has declared himself. Let's see what happens forward.
And, you know, some would say that it was an open secret that the governor was supporting Mr. Ighodalo ahead of the primaries. And it's no surprise that he has emerged winner of the PDP primary in Edo State. So are we saying that the ship has sailed, as usual, on internal party democracy, and the deputy governor can only be licking his wounds now?
So it was not an open secret. It was an open. Everybody knew the governor, Godwin Obaseki, has threw his weight behind Ighodalo. There's no secret about it. Everybody knew. But apparently, the deputy governor, if you go back memory lane, you will see there was an axe to grind between the governor and the deputy governor. Once upon a time, the same deputy governor was a very strong deputy governor because the governor had given him a lot of latitude. With all due respect, apparently the strongest deputy governor in Nigeria, the strongest, arguably, because it was taking over responsibility, very strong responsibility, representing the governor in many fora and in many meetings, very high-level meetings. The governor would send the deputy governor to go take over that, and he was actually in charge of a lot of very vital state affairs. But suddenly, apparently, maybe, you know, this power, absolute power, they say, corrupts absolutely. So maybe the deputy governor may have stepped over. And you know the way politics is, once the people are looking for conflict between the governor and the deputy governor, we initiate one. And once there's a conflict between the governor and the deputy governor, there are certain individuals that benefit from that struggle. You know, conflict theory. Conflict theory says that when 2 people fight, there is usually one that benefits or one that suffers. So in that case, what has happened is that the deputy governor became an outcast. And apparently, Barrister Ashley Jeswa, who decamped with the governor from APC in 2020 when the governor at that time had problem, also wanted to contest. It was possible. Maybe what would be secret would be that the governor would have promised Phyllis Shaibu the ticket, as at that time, would have promised Ashley Jeswa the ticket, as at that time, and now suddenly the table has changed. And why do I say so? These two individuals play a unique role in the emergence of Godwin Obaseki as governor in 2020, particularly deputy governor. The deputy governor stick everything relationship-wise he had with his own father, not biological father. I don't want to use the word godfather. Father, because the leader of the APC in Edo and former governor of the state, Adams Oshomolwe, is like father. It may be metaphoric, it may be simile, but like father. And the Philip Shaibu stick his head, including insulting this man publicly and calling all manner of names. He stick everything, his reputation, everything, to supporting the governor. So the Philip Shaibu would have expected that with all this I have done, I have nowhere to go. I am going to support this governor till finish. And now, after the governor has secured the thing, after the Supreme Court, and after all the crisis of development, as it were, suddenly Phyllis Shaibu is no longer, it became a stretch bench fellow. So if you flip that around to Ashley Jeswa, who abandoned the role as chair of the party, state party, APC, to move with the governor, there may have been some midnight conversation. I know political meetings, usual decisions, strong decisions are held midnight. There may have been discussions that, don't worry, we are going to make sure that you know, are not, promises would have been made. You know, politicians have a way of making promises.
Right.
What the governor now did is to behave like Adams Oshomole in 2016. Everybody knew Godwin Obaseki was Adams Oshomole's choice. So there was nobody, if you don't like it, you go away from the party. And that's what led to Pastor Yamu decamping in 2016 to join the PDP. And of course, what happened in that election is now history with what we saw in 2016. Right. So again, back to the conversation. It was not an open secret. It was open danger. All right. So to say that the governor was truly with Aslam.
Quite interesting analysis, really. And I mean, it's important to keep tracks of all of these issues so we can look at it holistically and perhaps even for future studies and scholastic work. But for the young Nigerian or young Nigerians who are watching closely, they participated in the 2023 elections. So we're very excited, wanted to, elect someone, and we know how that played out. And now we're in 2024, and they are watching again, and they are seeing all of these play out. One party, 3 candidates, another one, 2 candidates. And I imagine that they may just feel disgusted. Like, I thought we were past this. I thought we had moved on from this. This is not secondary school election or primary school election or class rep. Even class rep elections, they are conducted quite well. So what would you say to that young Nigerian out there watching and feeling, not again? I thought we had gone past all of this.
My brother, I would call that like a belief. Nigerians, in fact, young Nigerians, let me not be pessimistic or maybe destructive. If you ask a typical young Nigerian, what would you like to be in the future? I can tell you that majority will say, I want to be a politician. Politician is not a career path, ideally. You will expect that you say I'm a doctor or something. And jokingly, in one of the schools I visited, the teacher was telling me that there are some students who want to become politicians. I'm like, no, politician is not a career path. You grow in your trajectory and gradually, in a quest to want to serve your people, you then go into politics. What people are seeing now is, it's very bad for the Nigerian state. Why am I saying this? Don't bother getting any degree. Just grow your way and become and stick to your godfather. you can become a governor. And that it's bad, because what's going to happen in the future is that sometime in the future of this country, you may have non-entities, if we don't already have it now, leading the affairs of a country of this magnitude, where you have the finest of brain, the best of doctors, the best of engineers, the best of lawyers, because this best, this so-called best, will not find their way into the murky and the bad part of politics. Because politics, for you to truly emerge in the current state of affairs in this country, is to either secure a godfather, or you've got the kind of resources to play the game. Even when you have the kind of resources to play the game, you need to be in the circle. It's more like a cartel system. And young people, with all due respect, follow your path. Become that renowned medical doctor. Become the Ben Carson. Follow your path. Become the Dangote, the economist. Become the professor. Follow your path. Gradually, if your path takes you towards politics, that will be fine. Again, politics is the authoritative allocation of scarce resources. It's the way who gets what, how, and when. Who gets what requires some heavy militarization. And that is why you see our political landscape is highly monetized and militarized. So much money going in, you would have heard from Grapevine, dollars were still used in that election. Whereas we are struggling with dollars as a nation state, or as a nation. People are still being paid in dollars to vote. I mean, it's a crisis. And the only way to reduce this is to truly review the incentive of being a governor, reduce the incentive of being a president, reduce the incentive of being a senator, and that conversation is on. But when suddenly the salary of a local councillor, a local government councillor, is much more than the salary of a professor, that's an aberration, for Christ's sake. A professor that I put in so much in academies that is teaching us to become good, to return back to the state, to return back to this country. That professor, endless. When politicians are any more than business owners, business entrepreneurs, when the richest man in a society is a politician without any service providing, without providing any services, without providing goods and services, and is rich, he has money somewhere stuck that is not going into the system, and inflation gradually comes in, then we are where we are today. Young people, please listen. Do not follow the trajectory that we are seeing. What we follow is to develop ourselves, become whom you are. Have a name for yourself. Let the politician come after you. I think that's what we are seeing apparently in PDP and, of course, in APC. Even though they still need the money, these individuals have some very good pedigree. They've got it, arguably. I mean, I'm talking about the one that may likely emerge, whether it will be APC Senator Monday or APC Denko Idahosa or PDP Aswani Godalo. I'm not going to talk about the deputy governor, because what we know about law is clear for PDP. Only the APC is a bit of a challenge with inconclusive nature.
All right, so let's get back to this, because we're trying to look at this based on internal democracy within political parties, so that it will be less, how do you put it now, less of many litigations after this exercise. And then you look at the sentiment of the people. Some will say what Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu is doing and others may be, dead on arrival. Because if you look at the politics of Edo State, for instance, Edo Central has been looking forward to getting a governor. I think the last person was Professor Sumbo, who, the courts removed and all of that. So the sentiments seem to be shifting to Edo Central. But we have people in the APC. I think Dennis Idahosa, I think he's from South. Mondo Okpebolo is from the Central. And then Anamaro Dekeri is from the North. And then we have Philip Shaibu from the North. And then elsewhere in the Central. We don't know what's going to play out in Labour Party and all of this. Because while we're explaining these issues, at the end of the day, we don't need to have another political unrest or an unrest generated by political tension. Shouldn't these politicians just sit down and say, for the purpose of equity and fairness, this idea, perhaps, are we really mature? That's the question. Are we really mature for, let's throw it open? Or we should just stick to, let's be fair for the purpose of equity and fairness. Let's give some people who haven't had a chance an opportunity.
I like the part of the trajectory you bust up from. Fairness. Is fairness actually political? While equity and fairness is good, I agree, they are good. But you know, in the context of politics, the majority will always have their way, and the minority will always have their say. It's there, whether in Nigeria, whether in Ghana, or in the US, or in the UK. The majority will always have their way. It's when the majority listens to the equity question, then it turns around to become majority question. I agree that the last governor who was from Edo Central is not even Professor Sumbo, it's Ambrose Ali. Because Professor Sumbo, by law, is not a governor, was never a governor of Edo State. Because in the judgment in 2007 by Justice Salami, it said that regime never existed. It is clear. I mean, this is law. So I'm not too sure if his pictures are in government house. I'm not too sure. I haven't been to Edo government house for a while. Having said that, one we expect that Edo State as a state, as a boundary, having these three areas, north, south, and central, from 1999 up to 2007, the south, under Chief Lucky Gunedion, had a way. Then from 2007, briefly, whether it's Professor Osumbo, but briefly, he went back to the north, in person of Adams Oshomole, who ran 8 years, that climaxed in 2016. The agitation was on at that time that you need to get it back to, but because Oshomole wanted an economist, as he said then, that it was economic, because arguably, people really didn't know Godwin Obaseki as of 2016. It was a fresher, it was like a jam bite in the political landscape, whether nationally or locally. And Adams Oshomole promoted him, and he became governor of the state, again from the south, 8 years. This is almost like a time of equity. If the ruling party of the state, at the state level, has chosen to go central, you should expect that the APC should do likewise. The only party I think may not go likewise, we want to play the politics, will be like Labour. Labour may want to go south because by population-wise, the south had more voting population. Again, more local government. It is the second is Edo North, where Adams Oshomole is from. And the third is from Central. However, if two of those senatorial districts align strongly, they will beat whoever go contrary to any underlying agreement. For example, if APC picks from Edo Central and the Benin's, I recently buried my mom in Edo, and conversation I had on the street was, I'm talking about ordinary people now. I'm not talking about politicians. That, no, leave Edo, leave Benin alone. We need to go to the central. This is wickedness. People are already talking about that, fairness and equity. So talk about your internal party democracy. Internal party democracy is a challenge in our political landscape. Political party system in Nigeria is the weakest link to our democratization. Until political party is truly strong or are truly strong, our democracy, as it were, will not be strong. The link between governance and political party lies in the political party that sends that link to the governance architecture of a state. Why am I saying this? The leadership selection process of a party determines, arguably, the leadership selection process in the main election. So, if a party engage in this kind of three candidates, three aspirants emerging, two aspirants emerging, you are going to have that snowball into a general election because there will be a fight for all in order to maintain the local standard. So that is a challenge. IPD, internal party democracy, is a challenge that we must deal with. And we can't deal with it. Only the party can deal with it because it's an internal party system. Because the Supreme Court has ruled
and it seems,
internal affairs of the
Igbe,
party is solely the role of the party. Even though
Mr. Igbe
INEC and other observers, including media, can observe the process. You don't have a say. The party does have the final say. That's a ground is settled.
Mr. Igbe,
the party must do more to improve their own system and make it better.
Mr. Igbe, it would seem as if we would be back again with this same theme in another electioneering cycle, particularly with regards to zoning, even if you consider presidential elections as well. But very quickly, as we coast home now, and in as few words as possible, if we assume that the outlook of the management of the primaries of the APC in Edo State will be the same with the use of a returning officer and a chairman electoral committee. If it has not been stated clearly who should do what should we expect from the outcome of the primary that is being reconducted now?
I feel the APC will do. I feel the APC will do what is now right, because there was a conversation after the primaries and before the NWC meeting, and in that meeting they agreed. They would have agreed. I'm not part of that meeting. For declaring that election inconclusive meant they've identified the loopholes. And Governor Uzodinma had been removed. I think the return officer was also removed. So the governor of Cross River is now chair. They must now have collaboration. There was a meeting, a stakeholders meeting that took place in Edo, where Idahosa Denko was declared by the Governor Hope Uzodinma, was even presenting a petition to the committee that you need to move certain of those collation points. It means conversation is on, and they've agreed on who should. In my opinion, if you ask me, for a state-level election, it is the returning officer because, again, that is why the person is appointed to return in the election.
Well, Mr. Igbe, very interesting points made. I think a takeaway for the people is that they need to get involved the more and ensure that, you know, political actors don't just take them for granted and keep doing the same things over and over again, thinking that, well, the people will take it anyway. And just to put on record that the APC spokesperson said that Governor Uzodinma was not replaced, that he was unavoidably unavailable. I think those were the words he used. So the deputy, that's Governor too, well, took his place. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay. Mr. Austin Igbe, thank you so much for your analysis. Elections and democracy analyst joining us from our Abuja studios. And we'll touch down with you. Of course, Labour Party will be having theirs today. Let's see how things play out. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right, let's switch gears now. We will be moving on to other conversation, not politics this time, but I'm not going to let you know what it is. But you have to wait for after this break, and we'll let you know exactly what's up our sleeve. Join us again.
If the dollar were a personality, I bet it would be tired. As I always say, the ears of dollar would be aching it because the dollar don't hear up, as people say in Pidgin. And yet again, we're talking about the FX. And it's very important to our economy. Yes, we import, we export as well, but we're more import-oriented, and that affects our economy, affects inflation, affects production, affects a whole lot of things. That's why we're seeing cost of living rising, partly as a result of that. And this morning, we'll be talking about some of the measures being taken by the government. I think well, top on the list, or the most recent one, is the action taken on some of those cryptocurrency apps and the rest. It's gotten a lot of Nigerians talking, young and old. This morning, we're delving into all of those measures and how it's impacting on, you know, the dollar Naira conversation and perhaps what we may be missing. We have joining us on the show this morning, Rume Owi, who is a financial market analyst. Good morning, Rume. Good to have you on the morning brief.
Good morning.
You know, I saw a post you put up, just to put it out there, and I know how vested a lot of young Nigerians are in, you know, the cryptocurrency apps, Binance, and all of that. And, you know, some of the things you said essentially re-echoes what a lot of Nigerians have said, that, you know what, either banning, restricting access, or what have you, is not the solution. And I think you listed some other things. Let's focus on insecurity. Let's focus on others. Yes, I did my research. I'm sure you're wondering, how did you see all of that? So speak to us about the measures you have seen so far. Let's just pick each of those measures, particularly by the CBN, whether this one is the NCC or what have you, and talk about how you've seen it impact, either positively or negatively, on the FX market.
Thank you very much. This is a very, very good one. We're discussing crypto because years back, I don't think we want to have that opportunity to do that on national TV. The opportunities in the industry is quite enormous, and from the ban in 2021 to now, we've lost a whole lot. So coming back again to say crypto is a problem, it's also a challenge because the players in this industry globally, a lot of them want to come to Nigeria to do business, which will help young people to be gainfully employed. With all of the issues happening now, my reservations on this issue is just a narrative that is flying around to make the crypto industry look in a certain way, which I'm not comfortable with. There's a lot of challenges in our country. I'm in Nigeria. I don't have any other country. I love the country, and these are concerned that our currency is being manipulated by some certain persons in the industry. We have our challenge in the crypto industry, but I don't think there is enough for us to say crypto is the problem. The P2P market is a problem. I was looking at the data about two nights ago about countries that actually trade their indigenous currency for Bitcoin. Nigeria is about 17, according to CoinHill. So it comes to mind, South Africa is even ahead. A lot of young people are looking for ways to trade, then gain profit, then switch it to the stable coin, which is what is being traded in the P2P platform. It's a marketplace by Binance. There are other platforms that has it, but Binance seems to be very popular because the Bureau de Change guys or the FS guys usually go there to check the rate and benchmark to give a conclusion, that this is what they're also going to do. So I think it's more of a data issue.
So doesn't that speak to, pardon me, doesn't that speak to the point which is being made that a lot of this is speculation, is not really backed by anything tangible? Speculation, people essentially trying to make profits off it, and it doesn't have proper data backing. In fact, it's been said time and again that our currency is currently undervalued. So do you agree? Are you saying you disagree with that?
Well, the fact that we don't have proper data for our industry, the crypto industry?
No. For the value of the Naira, it's not really as a result of what we call demand and supply.
Yes.
A lot of it is as a result of speculations. People just essentially undervaluing the Naira so they can make a lot of profit. So I'm asking, is it that you don't agree with that, particularly the measures taken by the government, and say, you know what, don't try to be looking at this one to set your value. Let the value of the Naira be decided by demand and supply.
So I think the medium taken by government to make sure we have the right value, it's in place, but it's a bit tough for certain part. So for the crypto part, it's a bit tough because it looks like, we are the cause of this issue. And we are really not, so, but prices are supposed to be actually determined by demand and supply, really. And I think people trying to make the price go up because they want to make humongous profit from it, it makes no sense, because at the end of the day, if these prices are up, things are going to be overly expensive. Going to buy something, even if you're benefiting from it, someone that is trying to manipulate. We see how families that may not be able to afford certain things that the price are actually gone up. So I think it's a step in the right direction for government, but I think, again, there should be some balance.
So in analyzing how this plays out for you as a person, so some people have said that this is a knee-jerk approach by the government. But do you see sense in what they are doing to be able to say, okay, with this approach or with this policy we're putting out, it will help, from an expert point of view, help taper down on a few things we're seeing? Because the Naira on a free fall is looking like it's going to fall down the cliff even further if nothing is done urgently?
I think the step the government is taking is a way for now, because we have not seen any circular from the government saying, oh, we are banning this, because in 2021, I'm speaking from the crypto end to your question right now, that banks are not allowed to trade cryptocurrencies, or platforms are not allowed to have a bank account. We haven't really seen any official, I don't know, I'm still trying to check all of that, you know. So, but in all of this, the fact that the news is out there, peradventure, that could send shockwave to the bad actors to say, okay, it seems it's like this, no longer favoring us. Maybe that could also come down. But on the flip side, it's going to make a lot of people don't see an opportunity coming into the crypto industry well in Nigeria, because there's supposed to be, if you ask me, a way where key stakeholders and government sit down to say, okay, this is how we need to do it. Peradventure have a kind of regulation so that people don't go, because now Binance is now looking like the new Aboki FX. So when it was banned then, people now see the opportunity now that, these guys are giving us rates. So it's a data issue. They just want somewhere they can go and see that the rate is like this, then they go. In fact, I don't think any of these Bureau de Change people are going to sell dollar for you for 1,500. They are not. But when you want to buy, they'll go to some of these P2P platforms to check the price and say, oh, this is what the price is, and sell for you, which is really not good. But I think government is doing the right thing, but it's still a bit tougher.
So if you were, sorry for cutting in, if you were to sit with government and have this conversation as a stakeholders, what would you be proposing?
So I'll be proposing a situation whereby we'll be having a cap for rates. So the although we are saying that in Nigeria we have a floating rate, right? Yeah. So there's a need for a lot of sensitization on all the players that are involved to say, okay, come on your platform, there need to be a certain cap for this, so that people come in to do, or peradventure, if those want to check, they see that it is not moving at will, because people, maybe somebody has, on the P2P platform, what usually goes on lately is people go there and they see maybe someone has a huge amount of liquidity to sell, he caps it away very far, let's say 1,700, he puts his own or hers for 1,800 and something to sell maybe like 5 million naira worth, you know, that, or it might be that is an artificial price advert on its own. You might not even buy it, but with the process of buying it, the person just cancels it, but it has actually pushed the price up, which is very wrong. So the government, I will be advising that government should meet these key players and say, put a cap to your stuff. So when someone goes there, he sees that, oh, this is the price, and it's not fluctuating the way it ought to be.
But when you say put a cap to the pricing, right?
Yeah.
The rate.
Yeah.
Are you saying put a cap both for the BDCs and the banks, a uniform rate?
No, so I'm saying because now, like I said, since the issue is a data issue, that BDC guys go to check the P2P on Binance to get rate, so it's more like a dashboard for them. Put a price for the P2P guys on Binance, so that anybody coming to check to get rates to do transaction knows that they cannot really go
higher than
the
what data that they find.
Yeah, but you know, the official rate is quite lower. Yeah. So, but aside that, since it's the unconventional way, people want to just make profit and speculate.
All right. So I know you have said that the Binance, those who offer Binance services are not responsible, you know, but when they go to you to find out what the rate is and there is a demand for your product, don't you think that it, to an extent, contributes to the volatility in the market? And, you know, because we're not a producing nation, the economy is not mature for the participation of Binance, hence the value of what government is trying to achieve by banning the services of those who offer crypto products.
So I think I don't know if I get your question very well, but I think we should focus more on producing right here in Nigeria, so that we can, in a nutshell, where we can actually attract more FX to us, so that we can do a lot of things to attract FX from other parts of the country, other parts of the world to our country, so that we build on our currency rather than looking at a way where we could solve a problem that has been lingering for a long time because this is going to be short-lived, and the prices are going to go off the hook again. So in a long we should be looking at long term. We should be using Nigerian-made products. We should be encouraging people to produce things here, very basic things that we can use, so that all of that can make our currency stronger, rather than come up to say, oh, this is this, because now after this, it might be business as usual, which might not favor the price going down.
I heard this analogy, and I just tried to test it on the show this morning. So someone said, well, the situation is like a farmer who isn't producing as well. There's famine or different things responsible. And there are people ripping off that farmer, just taking from the farmer, taking advantage of the farmer. The little that the farmer is producing, they're essentially taking advantage of it. And farmers like, can we just stop this? And people say, no, produce more. Once you produce more, all of this will stop. And the person just likened it to what's happening right now. So a lot of people are saying, how about we just produce more as an economy, then all of these issues would stop. But the truth is, which I would ask you, is a lot of people are ripping off the economy. The simple question is, why can't people use bank rates to trade? The bank rate today is 1,500 Naira. Why can't people do that? Why do people choose to do 1,800 or peek at what Binance is saying? I say, oh, Binance is saying 2,000. Make my own 2,000 Naira quickly. In fact, let me just make it 2,001 just to make extra profit. Why is that mentality so rampant? What's wrong with 1,500?
I think it's a thing where we need to have a conversation around how much do we even love this country? Because the truth is that everyone wants to make money at the expense of the country, and it makes no sense. Because at the end of the day, if this goes up, I saw on someone's status the other day that says it might just be that the Naira will get to 2025 before
we get to 2025. Oh dear, that's dangerous.
So that is not what I wish for, because it's obviously going to affect us. So I'm looking at the situation whereby there should be a reorientation, right? I was really pissed at OGs in the financial space, in the crypto space, saying, "Oh,
I'm sorry." For the purpose of other people, what does OG mean?
so OGs are guys that are really up there in the industry.
Okay.
Yeah. Early guys that are in this industry for a while now. Yeah, old guys.
All right. Yeah. That in full form means old guys.
All right, just to be clear, so we're not, there's no ambiguity.
So I'm really not happy. You see their post on their status, oh, the price of Naira to the dollar is going to 1,900, because these guys, they have followers. As you're doing that, you're actually making their followers to also speculate. So I'm like, come on, what is this? What's of this importance to Nigeria? What are you doing? You are making people feel that they have to go get some of these things and hold it down. Buy some of these assets and hold it down. It doesn't make any. So we need that reorientation. Nigeria is our country. At the expense of making money to survive, we should not jeopardize a lot of things. So the reorientation I'm talking about is how much do we even value this country? Is it because peradventure maybe the politicians are doing something or some persons are doing something, we just have to all do it so that the country collapses? I don't have any other country. So the orientation, to always tell people that this thing is not the way to go. The price is 1,500. It is not the idea of trying to push it so that it gets to like 2025, like I said. It's for us to sit and say, this is how it is, because others, foreigners, are actually using that to, peradventure using by proxy from some other people to maybe give them something to, like liquidity, to push in all of this market, to make them make gain, and it makes no sense. So let's have that reorientation that Nigeria is our own. This country, this currency, Naira is our money and not the dollar.
So let's do some national housekeeping. And it's a straight question to you. Do you think that some weakness in the system, such as access and availability to FX within the banks or the financial institution, is also affecting how these people in the crypto space play their game. Because if people can access, perhaps it will lower the numbers that come to that space and the BDC.
Yeah, so if I'm someone that does business, getting your question very well, if I'm someone that does business and I don't have access to FX, I look for an alternative. Most times, maybe those doing transactions in different parts of the world, like China, that they want to get goods and stuff, and they don't have access to the FX, they go to stable coins. And if those they're doing business with outside can take stable coins like USDT and USDC, it now becomes easier for them. So I think the bank has a very huge role to play. Make these things accessible so that they can all, because now digital assets are playing a very huge role in the global economy, and I don't think Nigeria wants to be lacking behind. So there has to be some synergy where regulations comes in, call the stakeholders, so that at the expense of not getting FX from the bank as at when due, and they are going for alternatives, the alternatives are well guided so that we don't have a situation whereby one suffers for the other.
But if you consider the interventions of the CBN, the provision of $500 million to the banks, to ensure liquidity, if you consider all of that, and then now I'm recalling, what the MAN president told us, MAN Director General told us yesterday that they don't even get up to 20% of their credit from the banks, that they go to the BDCs. The question would then be, 2 days ago, the question would then be, what's the essence of the reforms? And what's the propriety of going after the BDCs? I wonder if you catch my drift.
Yeah. So I think some direction, from one of the approach I think for this, some persons have to be held accountable for all of this. If I get you very well, the structures are in place, the implementations are the problem. So head needs to roll. It can be very tough to say all of that, but some persons are actually bent on, they have been doing this for a very long time, and they're bent on doing this as long as possible. So this government needs to put a stop to all of that. The bankers are really not helping. They are really not helping. Everybody's just looking for a way to. So I think some persons need to be punished for all of this. And in doing so, it comes with some strong minds to do all of that. So I think the government doing all of this makes a whole lot of sense, but they need to be more conscious way to implement all of these strategies that have been made to happen, not just saying them, but doing them. Now they've come for the crypto space to say, okay, you guys hold on for a while for a couple of things, and the platforms are actually making plans to do. So it should go to other sectors.
Okay.
So they know that this is serious business here, because I don't think the current president wants to have his government in a way whereby the Naira goes off the hook.
National orientation, you talked about that. Naturally, the NOA will come to mind again. NOA, what is going on with all of the national orientation we should talk about. And I think everybody should have a role to play with NOA, whether you are a parent or otherwise. We all need to have that conversation about our country. But Rume, we have to thank you so much. I know you have to go back to check all of the data and see all of your friends in the market.
This is my first time in the studio, but it's not going to be last because it's really fun talking about what you're passionate about.
Great having you on the show, Rume. Pahui is a financial market analyst. Thank you for your time on the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Well, we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we talk about that very all-important conversation around sleep. Jeffrey is going to be simulating how to sleep, maybe for how long to sleep. But are you getting enough sleep?
How am I supposed to
That is
simulate?
the question. And is that affecting your productivity, your health? All of that conversation we're having in a moment. You don't want to miss this. Stay with us right here on The Morning Break.
You put me on the spot. What do I do? He's just asleep. Welcome back. It's now to talk about sleep. I kind of like the topic, sleep. That's why my colleague set me up to say I have to talk about this. Well, let's see how that simulation plays out. But before I talk about simulating, let's meet the expert who will guide us on how important sleep is. It's not a popular conversation, but when you look at the level of exposure or predisposition to health issues, then you know how fundamental it is and why nature actually provided for sleep, which is why these experts will help us break it down and explain to us how it should work and what we should do. Dr. Olajide Obembe is a consultant psychiatrist and head of sleep disorder unit from the Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital, Yaba in Lagos. He joins us via Zoom. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
How well did you sleep last night, Doctor?
Very well. Very well. I had enough sleep to get me rested, feel rested this morning. I feel very refreshed to carry on the day activities.
Okay, so let's start with a very basic question because there are layers to this conversation. So let's start with the basics. How important is sleep?
Yes, sleep is very important in human life. Not just human, in every living organism. Sleep is very important. So sleep, well, we can look at sleep as maybe one of there are three major things we need for our good health. One is sleep, another one is good nutrition, then the other one is exercise. So all these three coming together can keep us fit, can help us with our health. Sleep affects every organ in our body, every cells in our body. So when we don't have enough sleep, even when the person as an individual is really not feeling it much, there are some parts of the body that are already going through some stress, and they are already reacting to it. So sleep is very important. It affects the well-being of all the organs in our body, all the system, all the cells in our body.
Doc, I'm going to a very important part of the conversation. I'm not even going to begin to talk about the economic situation right now. There's a challenge that some Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians have to go through, particularly for those who live in areas that are poorly planned. That's noise pollution. So in an area that's supposed to be a residential one, you find schools there, you find churches there, you find mosques there. And individuals there, I wonder if they are getting enough sleep, or have they become immune to the noise pollution around?
Yes, it's possible some people may adjust and be able to cope with this situation. But the truth of the matter is that for us to have a good sleep, there are some basic principles that needs to be observed. So if the noise is so disturbing, the environmental condition like heat, you understand, all these things can make it difficult for an individual to have a refreshing sleep. So such individuals in the morning, even though they feel they had some level of sleep in the night, in the morning they don't feel so satisfied. Because one of the important principle that guides the quality of our sleep is the issue of timing. The time we sleep, the time we wake up, then the regularity of that timing. But all these circumstances you raised, the issue of noise pollution, heat, and some other non-conducive environmental factors can affect these principles, the principle of having your regular sleep, keeping to a particular time for your sleep, and then sleeping for a quality amount of duration. So it can impact negatively on sleep health and general health of an individual.
Okay, Dr. Obembe, aside the fact that I'm really enjoying the visuals that we're seeing on the screen as we're conversing with you, it's refreshing to see people trying to sleep, you know. But, you know, and the person we saw there was not actually finding it funny to sleep because of the heat. You could see the person twisting and turning, trying to find a good position and all of that. Even though the cover cloth was on again, I think you just take off the cover cloth so you can sleep. But speak to us about what is proper sleep. How long should we sleep for? I know it's been a debate. Some say if you sleep 8 hours daily, you slept like
your destiny away.
You've slept your destiny away. But still, medical practitioners say this is the amount of sleep you need to get. I don't know if we'll be able to legislate this, but let's have this on record. What is enough sleep?
Yes, enough sleep. We look at that question. I can address it in various ways. Enough sleep, we can address it in terms of duration. Like when we say, okay, the normal duration of sleep is 6 to 8 hours. Some say 7 to 9 hours. You understand? But on the average, 7 to 8 hours is okay. So we can look at the duration. Then also the enough sleep will also mean that how we feel after when we wake up in the morning. Do we feel satisfied? Do we feel refreshed? Then enough sleep will also mean that how active we are able, how much we are able to keep alert during the day. Because if you sleep for 7 hours in the night and during the day you still have to be struggling, taking coffee to keep yourself awake, then the sleep is not enough. Even if you had 9 hours at night and during the day you feel drowsy, you have to keep consuming coffee to keep yourself awake, the sleep is not good enough. You could have slept for 6 hours and then during the day you feel fully awake, fully alert, you feel you have your enough energy to carry on during the day, then you have enough sleep. So we look at the quality of sleep, whether the sleep is good to help you achieve all these things, your ability to do your work, your emotional regulation, your energy level. So all these things come together. It's not just a matter of I slept for 9 hours. But on the average, when you look at the duration, 6, 8, 9 hours is okay.
Wow.
Go ahead. 9 hours, Doc?
9 hours. Doc, we live in Lagos. 9 hours is a luxury that I don't know. So what is the minimum?
Yes,
what is the minimum?
Yes, the minimum, like I said, I put the 6. But the truth of the matter is that we have different natures. You know, when we talk about in science, in biological science, when we say, okay, this is the standard, what it means is that is the average in a population study. So what it means is that there are actually people who can do effectively well with 5 hours. This kind of people may not be able to. I mean, there are some people that also need up to 8 hours. So people who need 8 hours, if they copy people who only sleep for 5 hours, they won't be able to function very well. So that's why it's an average. There are some people, because of their makeup, because of the work they do, they may need up to 9 hours in a day. Or we can put it on the average between 6 to 8, 9 hours.
Doc, let's, as I said, there are layers to it. Let's talk about snoring and sleeping. And how well do you think people who snore actually sleep? I think that's my direct question. Are they really sleeping well, or there should be a concern, or is nothing to worry about? Or is it a result of tiredness, or is nature? What exactly is going on with all of that mixed bag before we talk about other sleep disorder?
Okay. Yes, snoring during sleep, that is one of the symptoms of what we call the obstructive sleep apnea. So there is an apnea going on in the night, and then the person is not able to breathe well. So snoring sound is actually from an individual trying to push air through a narrowed pipe. That's the airway. So as the person is falling asleep, the airway is like closing up. So the person is forcing the air through that airway that is closing up, and that's what gives the snoring sound. Now, what it means is that the individual is not getting enough oxygen into the body during sleep. And because of this, the brain is not really getting refreshed from the sleep as a result of deficient oxygen. Then also at some point, the individual, the obstruction could be so strong that the breathing stops momentarily. Then when this happens, the person wakes up. There is something we call arousal. The person can be having a lot of arousal without even waking up fully conscious. Or the person is waking up, but is still sleeping. So the sleep is fragmented. And because of this, the sleep is not refreshing. So that person, if that such an individual even sleeps for like 9 hours in the night, the person may likely wake up with headache, feeling as if he had not had enough sleep, and then the person feels drowsy throughout the day, struggling to do carry out his daily activity. Then apart from that, sleep apnea can also affect some other organs in the body. It can predispose to heart problems, it can lead to hypertension, it can lead to obesity, it can even affect the sugar metabolism in the body. It can affect everything in the body. So most of the time, I receive referrals from cardiologists sending patients for sleep study because they suspected sleep apnea. So some people with sleep apnea, the first point of call may be at the cardiologist clinic because they go there because of their raised blood pressure. So while the cardiologist is carrying out his own routine assessment, then you may find out that, oh, this could be the problem. Then they are sent to sleep clinic for consultation and further review.
Well, Doc, you have a question from one of our viewers, and they're asking, sleeping during the night and day, which one is more helpful and refreshing? That's from James.
Yes, sleeping, that was why initially, I talk about timing of sleep. The best timing of sleep is in the night. Because like I said, sleeping, the sleep we have affects all the cells in our body. So the way we are created is that you as a whole, as a human, you know that this is day, this is night. And also the organs in our body also know that this is day, this is night. So there are some hormones that body secretes during the day. There are some in the night. There are some early in the morning. There are some late in the evening. So all these hormones perform different functions in our body. So because of it, the best time for sleep is sleep in the night.
That's interesting because you have people who work during the night and sleep during the day. In other climes, you have people who work as perhaps as security guards, who work, maybe at data centers where they have to man data all through the night. Even you, doctor, as a physician, you have to work overnight and sleep during the day. So what happens to those people? And some of them do this consistently. They do this every day. Work at night, sleep at day. What happens to them?
Yes, these people, most of the time, the organizations they work with, they are also aware of this impact on their on their overall health. So there is a way they are compensated. You understand? So there is actually a sleep disorder known as the night shift sleep disorder, because the way we sleep, the time we sleep, everything is controlled by two forces. The first force is what we call the sleep pressure. Sleep pressure, what it means is that, okay, you have been away for so number of hours, then the sleep will be so heavy on you, you have to fall asleep. That's one. The second one is what we call the circadian rhythm, which is like a biological clock in the body. So when we have night shift sleep disorder, what it means is that the person, because of night shift, then the sleep gets disrupted. Yes, I know there are people that work in the night and sleep during the day, but there is a way they make compensation for that. Then also, it also depends on how it is planned. A situation where an individual will have a work at night today, then sleep during the day tomorrow, then after 2 days, night again, that is alternated very swiftly like that, affects the health a lot of time. So I've seen some people in my clinic that the source of the problem is because of that shift.
So what happens, so we're talking about having sufficient sleep. Let's now talk about those who sleep too much. What is too much, and how dangerous is it to sleep too much?
Yes. Sleeping too much, what we normally do is to assess and find out, is this person really sleeping too much? That's one. Then if the person is sleeping too much, then we find the cause, because there is a sleep disorder that the symptoms is excessive sleeping. So the person could have what we call the hypersomnia. In case of the sleep apnea, I spoke about where the individual snores in the night and the sleep is not refreshing. Such an individual could be seen as somebody who is sleeping too much. But the problem is that the person is actually not sleeping well. At night, the person is seen lying on the bed snoring throughout the night, and people around him believe that, oh, this man is really sleeping. Then during the day, you find him trying to look for a place to sleep also. The problem is that the night sleep is not refreshing, it's not good. So when we see people with complaint of excessive sleeping, what we do is we do what we call a sleep study. The person comes to our sleep laboratory. Then we first of all watch the sleep in the night. We put our gadgets and we'll do objective study and see the kind of sleep the person is having during the night. Then the following morning, we now continue and check how the person also sleeps. Then from there, we are able to make a diagnosis and classify the problem the person is having. Sleep, when it's too much, it affects the performance, the functioning of an individual. So it doesn't have to be too much.
Well, Doc, you have another question, but let me just quickly ask that you also address some other sleep disorders, i.e. insomnia, and those who sleepwalk. Is there any cure for it? And is there any spiritual implication, particularly to sleepwalking? And then I'll come with the question from one of our viewers.
Okay, if there's any, I didn't get a spiritual. Hello?
Go ahead, Doc.
Okay. Well, there are different types of sleep disorders. Like you said, the insomnia. Insomnia is when the individual is not having enough sleep. Then the opposite of that is hypersomnia. That is when the person is having excessive sleep. And there could be different causes. Then apart from that, there is something we call parasomnia. Parasomnias are the events that take place around sleep period. So one of these could be sleep talking, sleepwalking, or confusional arousal. What confusional arousal means is that an individual is sleeping, you wake the person, or the person just wakes up. The person is confused for some minutes or for some moment. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he is doing. So then even there is sleep eating. Some people, while sleeping, they wake up, go out of bed, go and eat something, and at the point they are eating it, they don't really know what they are eating, and they go back to bed, sleep back, and in the morning, if you tell them they do this, they don't know. You understand? Although it's a rare type of sleep disorder, but all these put together, they are what are known as the parasomnia. The other group is breathing-related sleep disorder. One of the commonest one is the one we talked about, the sleep apnea. So the obstructive sleep apnea, where individual cannot breathe well while sleeping, or it could be because of obesity. The person is having a hypoventilation while sleeping. So that is another group. Then there are other groups where the individual is not able to sleep well because there is something we call the restless leg or syndrome. The person keeps moving the leg, This happens in old people or people with some neurological problems. So all this, the movement keeps the sleep fragmented.
Right.
There's also the nightmare sleep disorder, where the individual have a lot of nightmares in the night, and because of that is afraid to go back to sleep. That's even a condition where an individual is having a nightmare, and at that point is actually acting it out.
Right.
So the person sleeping beside that individual, you can feel, you can understand what is happening in the dream world of that person.
Wow.
So as the person is talking in the dream, the person beside him is hearing it. You understand? So that's also another type of sleep.
You know, this conversation around sleep is really expansive, and I love the way you're walking us through the different possibilities. We have a lot of questions from you, from our viewers. Habib from Ojota is asking that. Okay, I think I lost that for a moment. Habib from Ojota, where's your question? Oh, there you go. Yeah. What is the effect of sleeping under a lighted space during the night? So there's always that conversation. Should I turn off the lights? Should I leave it on? Should I get colored lights, either blue or red or yellow? Does it change anything?
Yes. I spoke about the forces, the two major forces controlling our sleep. Well, I mentioned the sleep pressure and then the circadian rhythm, which is the biological clock. So the biological clock works with an aid of chemical that is produced in our body, which is melatonin. So melatonin, the way melatonin works is that in the evening, as the sun is going down, when every place is getting a bit dark, then the body starts secreting melatonin. So what happens is that at that point, if this individual is exposed to too much bright light, then the melatonin secretion may go down, which can affect sleep. So it's some people, we respond to light differently, but people that have challenges with sleep, most especially insomnia, if they are exposed to too much bright light during that sleep period, because of the effect of melatonin, they can lose their sleep. So what we do, part of the sleep hygiene, what can make people sleep better is around that time, you avoid exposing yourself, your eyes to screen, maybe your phone, your laptop. You should have a winding down time. You have your bedtime. You have time that, okay, you have to keep all these gadgets aside. Then the light in your room will be a bit dim, or you put it off. Because bright light can actually affect sleep because of the effect on the melatonin.
All right, doctor, let's another question from our viewer. This is what position is best when sleeping? Timothy from Ikorodu.
Okay, well, there's really no agreed answer to that. This is the particular position. But the people that will have to, it's an individual thing. One, people with snoring. One of the things is that it's better if they sleep by the sides rather than sleeping on their back. You understand? Okay. So then, So that's apart from that, there's really no problem.
So I can put my feet on the wall. Doctor, maybe I can put my feet on the wall. You know what those things mean in this.
In as much as you are comfortable. So that's why I say it's an individual thing, depending on which other medical condition the person is having.
Right.
For instance, people with heart problem, there's a particular heart problem that you have to prop up the head of the bed. So it depends. It depends on other medical conditions. But if there are no issue, you can sleep whichever way you like.
Well, that's a comic relief. Doc, those who have said to put their foot on the wall, they're known to travel in their sleep for some meetings. Yeah, one more question, Doc. This one is from Umar, and he says, talking about enough sleep, sometimes you have what you think is enough sleep, but after some good breakfast and sitting in an air-conditioned room, example at a lecture, sleep seems almost inevitable. What would you say about this? Was the sleep not really enough, or have other factors come in? For instance, those who like amala in the morning or pounded yam in the morning, and after that, and they find themselves in that air-conditioned office, sleep claims them. Doc.
Okay, thank you. Yes, after a heavy meal, it's possible an individual feel drowsy because of a physiological process. When we eat, at that point, the focus of blood supply at that point is our stomach. So at that point, the blood going to the brain will be a bit reduced, which can cause what we call the postprandial drowsiness. So, but what happens is that even if you have such an experience, all you need is that you can just put your head maybe on your table, just have a nap of like 10 to 20 minutes. If you had a good sleep, that should be able to keep you refreshed.
Yeah.
Rather than struggling with the sleep, you can just, if it's possible, just have a very short nap, like a what we call the power nap.
Right. I've seen some schools, I think in Japan, where students actually take a nap, during school. I don't know if workplaces allow that. I've seen that as well, but not the generality. But a couple of questions as we wind out. One more is about children and sleeping. Sometimes you find children up until 11 p.m. And I'm talking about children below 10. They are still playing, and you just hear parents say, well, that's my child. My child doesn't really like to sleep. So speak to us about children as well. What should be their sleeping pattern so that they can grow healthy and be productive?
Yes, the children maybe below the teenage age, they need longer sleep. And because they are children, they are under the guidance of people older than them, parents most of the time. And when you look, the major problem now is the issue of these appliances, electronic appliances, phone, iPad. These children get attached to this thing. And as I said earlier, exposure to light around that time for them disrupt the melatonin, which will make it difficult for them to go to sleep as quick as possible. Ideally, at that age, the children, those are the group of people that need that 9 hours. But because of the environmental situation, like these technological factors, it may be difficult. I think it's the duty of the guardians to make sure that these children, all these gadgets are taken away from them as soon as possible, and they go to their bed so that they can have enough sleep. At least the under teenage years are those that really need that 9 hours sleep. Now, from there, moving to teenagers. There is a little bit of difference in teenagers. Most of the time, because of the social factors I mentioned, also then a change in their biological system, they tend to go to bed late. So they tend to go to a typical teenager could be awake till like 11, 12. Now, when you leave them alone, if you don't disturb them, they tend to sleep into the day more. So if you allow them, a typical teenager can sleep till like 9 a.m., but they won't go to sleep on time. So those are the differences.
Dr. Olajide Obembe, thank you so much. Dr. Olajide is a consultant psychiatrist and head of Sleep Disorders Unit, Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Yaba. Joined us via Zoom. Thank you so much for your insight and the perspective. And I wish we had time so that you give us who live in Lagos some level of a kit, because mobility in Lagos is quite high. I don't know how much sleep we do here. But thank you so much, Dr. Obembe.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Whoa. What a conversation, Jeffrey.
Yes, indeed.
You're not simulating sleep.
No, I can't simulate. No. There's no time. No, maybe there was time. But there's something called brave sleep. They talked about it. Don't want you're in church and you're
our producer made up for it with that fantastic video.
So there's brave sleep, there's praise sleep, there are all kinds of sleep. I don't want to simulate it today, maybe some other time. But I love sleep, and I'm very sincere about it.
All right. That's how it's being on the show today. Follow Dr. Obembe's advice. Sleep like a teenager tomorrow. Sleep to 9 a.m. and join us again same time next week when we bring you another round of editions. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
Hey, stay pumped. You should sleep, but always stay energetic. I'm Kyle Kikulu. Goodbye.
See you next week.
Yep.